What is going on, everyone? Tim from Tierfon Orbital. So today I would like to go over a install commission that I completed on a KY Lightsabers Jedi Killer. So this is the first time I have had this version or this variant of the Jedi Killer from KY Lightsabers. A while back, it might have been a year or 2 years ago, KY Lightsabers did a run. I think he still offers them, but he's got a Jedi Killer and a Sith Killer, and they're essentially the same hilt, but one is darker, like one is colored black and the other is colored silver. This is also, it's called the Jedi Killer, but it looks a lot more like the Jedi Killers that we're used to seeing, like the one from Phoenix Props and things like that. So this is a different variant of the Jedi Killer, and I did have to approach this install a little bit differently due to the space requirements in the grip. So typically with me, when I design my chassis, I prefer to have the spring or the negative side down towards the speaker. There's no written law as to which orientation you should have your battery in when you're designing chassis. Some installers do it differently. With me, it depends on the build. Because there was such little space in the grip of this hilt, I chose to put the negative side or the spring side up underneath the upper part of the hilt. We'll go over that a little bit more in depth when we come up top, but I had to put the spring side in the opposite configuration than I usually do with this install. But other than that, it was a pretty straightforward chassis design. I did incorporate some blinkies down the side of this chassis, but other than that, it's just a static chassis. We do have a crystal chamber as well that is lit. So yeah, without further ado, why don't we come into Fusion and talk a little bit about the chassis, and then we'll come up top. Okay, so here is the chassis that I designed for this hilt. Right off the bat, right up top here is where I've got my, let me get rid of this grid. Right up top is where I've got my spring side battery spring tab, right? So that is up here, and down at the bottom is where our positive battery tab is. Battery tray is here. We've got a, I do this all the time. This is like my go-to vent for neopixel strip shine through, right? So we've got a grill here with a 2020 neopixel strip underneath it. I slide that in down in this channel. And I also add a mylar strip in front of those neopixels just for some better light dissipation, right? Greeblies along each side of the chassis. We do have room for a 28mm speaker here. This is a Proffie board V2 build. So the Proffie board sits in this tray. It does slide up underneath this lip. To the client, I say this a lot, but I do design my chassis around, the ability to either slide and tilt up your Proffie board, or my preference is to use a 90-degree USB connector. I will start linking the ones that I use into these videos just to help people. That's why I design with this notch here. I prefer to just have the Proffie stay where it's at, and if I need to upload a new config, I can just use a 90-degree connector. Plenty of room to get at your SD card as well. Here is the kill switch. We've got a kill switch underneath the board. And that's it, right? All of these greeblies, unfortunately, you don't even see, right? And I'll talk about that in a minute when we come up close. But the lip of the hilt, the upper part of the hilt is just in front of this battery tab, this spring battery tab. So you'll never, unfortunately, you won't see any of these greeblies. It was an unfortunate realization while I was designing this chassis that I realized there wasn't a lot of room in the grip. Surprisingly, right? I mean, the grip is a little bit, it's long looking, but once you get on the inside, it's a little bit of a different story, right? So let's talk about that now, actually. Let's come up top and take a look at the hilt. Okay, so here it is. This is the Jedi Killer from KY Lightsabers. Okay, so right off the bat, yes, this grip does look long. And it is. I mean, it's a regular, average-sized hilt, right? First of all, the pommel section does come up a little bit further at the bottom, but the upper section of the hilt stops here. So let's talk about that, right? This is a, typical with KY Lightsabers, there is a set screw to hold the grip on. So I've been hand cranking that or hand tightening it. So here's the chassis, right? So once you get the grip on, you really don't have that much room to play with. Barely enough room for the length of the battery, right? So that is why I had to put the spring side up underneath this upper section of the hilt so you could get your battery in easily, right? There is our neopixel strip. So let's talk about this really quick. Chassis, I just gave it my usual gunmetal rub and buff treatment. Then I sealed it. Here's our 28mm speaker. Proffie board is up in here. So to use the hilt, right? Spring side is your negative. Slide your battery negative side towards the crystal into the battery tray. Hit your kill switch.
Tatooine sparsely populated.
There is our 2020 neopixel strip. Once you get your battery in, you're ready to go with the grip. So you kind of have to feel this, right? Inside this grip, it steps down again. The inner diameter changes again right here. So you want to kind of feel where that is and then slide the grip on. Line your hole up for your set screw. I'm just going to hand tighten this again. Make sure the hole's lined up here. And then you're ready to go. So there are 2 tactile switches on each side of the hilt. Another thing that I'm completely neglecting to mention is that there is a machined crystal chamber module from Shtok Custom Works in here as well. This was sent to me by the client. The client did send me all the components for this install, so it was pretty handy that I had everything on hand easily. But these always look great. I love these crystal chamber modules from Shtok. They're very, very versatile. I've used these in a lot of builds. They are great for builds like this. They're Jedi Killer. I've used them in Star Killers before. They're just a really, really well-made piece of kit that you can use to upgrade Crystal Chamber. So that has been lit with 2 neopixels, one on top and one on bottom. They are their own blade in the config. You've also got the neopixel strip on the chassis that has been set up with sub-blades. So there are 3 blades in that. And then our main blade is its own blade as well, right? There's that crystal chamber. Good sounding hilt. Let's come down to the bottom. Okay, so now you understand why I chose to go with the negative battery battery tap up towards the top of the hilt. Unfortunately, when I did the initial design for this chassis, I did not incorporate this like 1.5 inches of space into the design. So my chassis initially was far too long. There was not enough room to put your battery in and everything. So yeah, unfortunately, just with the way that this grip is, it had to be a little bit shorter. But I'm pretty happy with it. See what else we put on here.
The NASA team is ready for.
So if you're looking, it's hard to tell which one's which. So if you're looking at the wire, the external wire, the switch to your left is your aux and the right is your main. Okay.
Wherever you are hard to find.
This hilt is loud. This is a loud ass hilt. God damn. So with each font, I tried to switch up the animation in the crystal chamber.
At last we will have revenge.
Let's put a blade in it. We've got a lot of set screws going on the outside of this hilt, right? So you want to rest your blade on those PCB pins. There is an upper and a lower set screw here. You can use either or for blade retention, or you can use both if you want. I'm just going to tighten this top one. Okay. And then you're ready to go. sure that's tight.
The NASA team is ready for launch.
One more.
3,
Nope.
2,
Twist to activate, twist to deactivate are on.
Kylo shuttle.
It's a loud hilt. It's a really, really loud hilt. Okay. So one of the things that I'm noticing right now about this hilt, as I'm doing this demo, is this external wire. So we've seen these before, right? We see these on Kylo's hilt. Just me swinging it around right now has loosened a lot of these wires. So I'm going to go ahead and make sure that they're secure. But yeah, not a huge fan of that, to be completely honest with you. So anyhow, to the client, just so you're aware, that external wire is pretty... I mean, it looks like the brackets that hold it in are literally just like tin metal that have been curled over. I don't know. Anyway. So anyhow, to the client, thank you very much for trusting me with this install. To the viewers, if anyone has any questions about this particular hilt, please do not be a stranger. And with that being said, may the Force be with you always. Have a good one, everybody.